Delegate Terrasa is an attorney by trade and has represented Maryland's District 13 since 2019. She serves on the Government, Labor, and Elections Committee and is a member of the Maryland Legislative Transit Caucus. She is a national leader on climate accountability, joining the Leaders for Climate Accountability in 2021 to push for laws that hold corporate polluters responsible. Delegate Terrasa is the longtime lead sponsor of the Beverage Container Recycling, Refund, and Litter Reduction Act, known as the Bottle Bill, which we'll hear about here today, which came within inches of becoming law last year. And so we're excited to see what we're going to do differently this year or how we're going to get across the finish line. So, Delegate Terrasa, thanks for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Um, so let me, I guess we'd have to go to the next slide. I want to talk about the bottle bill first. So the problem we have, and I think you are all familiar with this, is that 5.5 million beverage containers are sold in Maryland every year, but only a quarter of those are recycled. That leaves more than 4 billion. When I started this working on this issue, I thought it was million, but it's really billion. Um, they're left in the environment as litter in landfills and it's or incinerated. So litter pollution harms us all. It harms wildlife. It's a threat to human health. It's wasted energy. It's trashing our neighborhoods. And so we know a good solution to at least for part of this that can go a long way in states that have what's called a bottle deposit bill. Um, that the impact, I'm sorry, the amount of beverage containers that get back into the environment is far less, and they recycle up to somewhere between 70 and 90+% of those beverage containers. So, what the bill does, the next slide, I guess, is so what the bill does is it creates this beverage container recycling program and litter reduction program, and it requires the a collection of a small deposit, 10 or 15 cents, depending on the size. Um, and the deposit is refunded when the containers are returned. They've done this in multiple other states and other countries, and it's worked well. The program is implemented and financed by the beverage producers. We with enforcement targets and strong oversight from MDE. So it's budget neutral to the state. And so as it says, I guess the next thing there is that 60 countries and states and territories, including 10 states, have active deposits. And I think I already said that part. So moving to the next one, slide. Um, so we know what the benefits are. The benefits are that, 3.6 billion more containers annually, or of which 2.3 billion are plastic will be collected. It also reduces litter, you get high quality food grade material for closed loop recycling and reuse, and cost savings for local governments and taxpayers, and creating new jobs in this field. So, there was a lot of momentum last year, as Matt noted. We got it through one of two committees. As you guys, I'm sure, have heard over the last 2 days, there's a lot of change in committees, and so we will see. I'm not sure which committee. I think it should be in E&T. I don't know if it's also going to be in Economic Matters, but um, we're looking forward to trying it again this year and very hopeful. So, and also I should mention the EPR bill doesn't preclude that. So I know I have Martha Ainsworth on here. Martha, did you want to add anything? I know you got to speak about this yesterday.
I just like to emphasize how much momentum we had last year,
Oh,
and a couple changes from the year before. We um, we had this well, we'll see. We had the support of the Maryland Municipal League. We added an amendment that the stewardship organization of beverage producers would have to reimburse materials recovery facilities. That's MRF. You're recycling public or private recyclers that actually collect containers in your curbside bin and they don't claim their refund, they'd have to reimburse to the MRFs the cost of collecting, transporting, and processing those bottle bill materials that get to them. And another change is that there is a grant fund for reuse programs. It's 10% of unredeemed deposits. And instead of being run by Maryland Department of the Environment, it will be managed by the Chesapeake Bay Trust. So that's one less thing for MDE to worry about. And
Think, yeah.
we've come along to try to get more support from the MRFs.
Right, because just to emphasize that, I think the counties that run their own MRFs are concerned that they will lose money in this process, even though I don't think anybody's claiming it's better for the environment not to do this. I think their concern is they'll lose money for it. So Martha's really done a lot of work on this bill to address those concerns.
I would add that getting back to the purpose, it's to reduce litter. You can't recycle. This is not a recycling bill,
Right.
but it does involve recycling. You cannot recycle what you can't collect. So the deposit means that we can collect more. But we've also found in the last year, in particular, that we're all made of plastic. That plastic is now gone through the blood-brain barrier and it's accumulating in our brains and our organs. And the more you learn about this, the more alarming it becomes. And this is like a first step. Getting those 2.3 billion plastic beverage containers out of the environment is a start to reducing micro and nanoplastics in the environment. It's just a start, but it's something significant that we can do. And that is what motivates this bill. And I think it's a reason why we have so much momentum.
Okay, thank you, Martha. So moving on to the next bill, I have two related bills. This is a ban on chemical recycling and they're related to each other, I should say. And then I have, if we have a minute, one of the advocates who can speak to why this became so acutely necessary. So basically, this bill makes sure so clarifies that chemical recycling is not really recycling under Maryland law. It bans new chemical facilities, chemical recycling facilities, and it protects public health and the environment by preventing toxic pollution from plastic to fuel processes. It stops this greenwashing by the plastic industry and promotes real solutions to plastic waste and prioritizes reducing that plastic use and strengthening proven recycling programs. So, do I have another slide on this? I apologize. I don't think. No, that's the only slide we have on that. So, so what I would let me just get to this next bill really quickly, and then we can go back and I'll have Shamika talk to you a little bit about what's happening in her neck of the woods. It is had this, like I said, or previewed. This has become a much more urgent issue given some things that are happening in my district. So the Local Clean Air Act basically affirms a local government's right to pass stronger clean air and water protections in the state or federal minimums. And that's something that's come up with counties believing or concerned maybe that they are preempted, but this affirms their right to pass stronger clean air and waste protections. It clarifies the existing law so communities feel confident adopting strict standards, empowers local action when state and federal protections fall short. And as we know, the federal protections they are and continue to be more and more falling short. Protects public health, and the environment while maintaining statewide oversight and supports community-driven solutions to the local pollution challenges. So I want to turn it over to Shamika for a few minutes. She has been active in her community, in a community where there's a proposal to do this chemical recycling right next door. So, Shamika, do you want to say a few words?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Delegate Terrasa, for having me. Here representing on behalf of the Stop Grace Coalition. For folks who may not know, the Stop Grace Coalition is a grassroots organization that I co-facilitate with Lisa Krause. I see so many of our coalition partners on the phone, so I know that, and I've always known, but I certainly know now that we are in great hands. This is the second session where I'm testifying in support of this legislation. And in the past, this need was theoretical. There were plans from a few chemical companies to run chemical recycling plants in Maryland, and this bill was intended to stave that off. But unfortunately, as we stand today, this is no longer theoretical. There are actual plants that are being piloted in the state of Maryland. And I know because I live 400 feet from one. And my house is not even the closest. There is one that is within 260 feet. And what this facility is planning to do is to process plastics at high temperatures, which will pollute not just our air, but also protected environments that are around it and the Middle Patuxent River, and 560 families that live within half a mile from it. And this is in a place where, I don't know that we've heard a lot, at least I haven't today. It's in Columbia, Maryland. The facility belongs to the W.R. Grace Company, which is headquartered in Columbia, and they have received permission from the county and the state to process 880 pounds of plastic at high heat using a process that is called pyrolysis, or in the case of why we're here today, chemical recycling. But chemical recycling is a way better name because pyrolysis is often considered a form of incineration. I'll let that sit for a minute. But to break down the plastics, the process uses chemical catalysts, which themselves are often toxic at high heat. I think we heard some of that today. The catalysts and the heat turn plastics into char and a very, very toxic oil. There are people on the phone who are way better at giving you the chemical breakdown. I'm a mom. I'm telling you what I know based on what's happening in my community. But if we have questions, I know there are folks on the phone who can answer. But the intention is to use this oil for boat or jet fuel, and the produced oil has been shown to cause cancer in one in 4 cases, and they plan to store it on site in large drums that are prone to leaks. Similar facilities have experienced fires, leaks, and explosions. And there are stats that say that chemical recycling is 100 times more damaging to the environment than virgin plastic production. Again, just going to pause a little bit. All right. So chemical recycling, as you've heard, is a harmful process that requires common sense regulation, which I think this bill is. And it's the type of regulation that we're all familiar with when it comes to chemical processes and combustion. These are not one-to-one examples I'm going to give you, but I think it'll help you highlight some of how we regulate everyday activities that we know to be dangerous combustion when chemicals are involved. So we regulate where people can smoke. And in some places, people can no longer smoke inside their own homes because secondhand smoke harms others. This is a chemical combustion process with that we know to be dangerous. At gas stations, we are told not to use lighters or even cell phones because of ignition risks around fuel vapors. And right now, we are being warned, we heard it today, to keep plastics out of our dishwashers and away from high heat because heat causes plastics to break down and releases all the harmful chemicals we've already heard into our food, our water, and our air. And we already know that when plastics are exposed to high temperatures, they do not stay stable, they degrade and release toxins. And yet in my community, a chemical company is allowed to expose plastics to extreme heat on purpose. They add chemicals to speed it up, and they burn the resulting gases right next to where families live. The contradiction is why we're here today. It's why my community and future communities need you, and it's why this bill is necessary. I'm here to answer any questions, but I'll turn it back over to Jen Terrasa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I really appreciate it. And Matt, I see you come back on. I don't know if we're out of time. If we are, that's fine. But I really appreciate you guys giving us the time to discuss these bills today. I really could use all the support we can get. But thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here.